Welcome back to Turpentine VC, the podcast where we discuss the art and science of building successful venture firms, VC to VC. Today's episode is with Arif Janmohamed, partner at Lightspeed Ventures, who joins me to discuss Lightspeed's ambitious scope and scale, as well as their frameworks for investing in AI. We cover the evolution of foundation models to the future of cybersecurity and discuss identifying challenges and opportunities for company building. Please enjoy the episode.
Arif, welcome to Turpentine VC. Excited to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is the first time I've had a Lightspeed partner on the show. And so I'm excited to talk about the firm. And we've had Sequoia, we've A6Z, we had Thrive, we had Founders Fund, a lot of the major firms in the Valley, and Lightspeed is in that conversation. And so I'm curious how you think about where Lightspeed fits into the ecosystem, where it fits into the market. How should we think about Lightspeed, the firm, and where it plays?
Yeah, maybe I'll start with a little bit of history on the firm, and that'll give you sort of the arc of how we've come. We were founded about 25 years ago with the insight that enterprise investing was at that point in time generally underserved market. At that point in time, it was the height of the .com, and not a lot of people were really investing in the picks and shovels of the primitives of enterprise. And what I mean by enterprise, it's everything from semiconductors to primitives like compute, storage, networking, security. Today would be foundation models, infrastructure software, what people used to call middleware, and then all the way up through applications. We started out with a strong focus on enterprise early stage investing. At that point in time, the founders recognized that if you knew what you were doing in terms of how to build a company, and I will talk a little bit about that, how to be opinionated with founders, and how to support founders through their journey, that you could actually consistently build companies worth multi-billion dollars. So the firm was really built around that insight. And over the last 25 years, we've expanded our scope. So while we started out very much focused on enterprise and some consumer, since then we've evolved the firm into a multi-sector, multi-stage, truly global firm. And I'll touch on each of those. So we started out by focusing on enterprise, as I mentioned. And over the last 20 years, we've been really fortunate to have partnered with some amazing founders at the earliest stages, seed, Series A, Series B. These could be the founders of AppDynamics, of MuleSoft, of Nutanix, of Rubrik, which just went public, and a number of others. We've partnered with those firms at the earliest stages and then supported them through their journeys. And in many cases, these are 10, 12-year journeys with those founders as they go from building the infrastructure and the product to building out the management team to really finding their first few customers to finding product market fit and then needing more capital over time. So what we've really leaned into is having that early stage ethos and partnering with those founders and then building companies side by side. As I mentioned, we're multi-stage and we're multi-sector and multi-geo. So today, the snapshot of the firm is we can support a founder and really get into business with a founder at any stage of their journey. But we bring that early stage ethos of really understanding what it takes to build a company and partner with a founder as not just a capital partner, but also as a thought partner to help them really scale their companies. We have $7 billion of capital out of our latest set of funds that was raised a few years ago. And that is really split up across early stage, what we call early inflecting companies, and then pre-IPO companies. So we can partner at Series Seed all the way through to pre-IPO. We partner with companies and we invest in enterprise, consumer, fintech, healthcare, crypto sectors. And then from a geographic perspective, even when the founders started the firm 25 years ago, they recognized that entrepreneurship is global, innovation can happen anywhere. And so going back over 20 years, we've been investing in Israel, in India, in China, and more recently in Europe, as well as Southeast Asia and Latin America. So when we partner with a founder, we look for those founders that really want to go long, that want to build a global brand and want to build an enduring company.
It seems that Lightspeed is as ambitious as any firm out there, the A6Zs or Thrives or whoever, in terms of scope and scale of all stages, a bunch of different geos, a bunch of different sectors, $7 billion. I'm curious, what does Lightspeed think differently about the world than the Sparks or the USVs or the benchmarks that have similarly had great success, but have chosen to just stay smaller or more narrow in their approach? Is it a belief that venture is going to get bigger as a category and there's more dollars coming in and it makes sense to scale? It's better product to founders? Or how do you think about that?
Yeah. At our core, we're conviction-based investors. And so at our core, we're not the type of firm that just goes very wide like a seed firm and just tries to capture everything. But we do recognize that companies can be anywhere on a global basis, that we might not hit those founders or might not find those founders at the earliest stages. And we have the capacity to partner with founders over a very long period of time. And so, as I mentioned, we tend to be capital partners as well as thought partners. A lot of what we do is lean into helping those founders from either the earliest stages at seed series A or bring that ethos that we have of company building and thought partnership to any later stage partnership with those firms. We recognize that venture capital as an industry is evolving. And from our perspective, we wanted to evolve to not only continue to invest behind the very best founders that we started the journey with, but also invest with those founders that we may not have partnered with at the earliest stages, and to do so on a global basis.
That's a good overview. I want to talk about AI investing. That's something that you think a lot about, something your firm thinks a lot about. You guys are making a bunch of bets, a bunch of exciting bets. Talk about how you see, or sort of how you and the firm approach in terms of where you're looking at, where you're excited about, where you think, hey, this doesn't quite make sense, whether it's timing, whether it's because it's too crowded, whether the price is too high. Why don't you sort of share your position?
Yeah, AI is a topic du jour, but it's not new to us at Lightspeed. And for us, we've been really investing and learning about AI for almost a decade. And you can look at some of our companies that we invested in at Series Seed or Series A, companies like Glean, for example, or like MoveWorks. These are companies that are now scaling quite rapidly. For us, AI is not new. It's been an evolution of machine learning into deep learning into what now people call AI, but it's not a brand new sector. We fundamentally believe that AI is something that will permeate into every part of what we do, whether it's at work, whether it's at play, or in other ways, right? It is a fundamental technology and a foundational technology. And I know that's a little bit of a play on words in terms of foundations, but AI isn't new. If you sort of go back a decade ago and you typed in ARIF space J into Google, it would automatically assume that you wanted to search for Arif Janmohamed. If you went into LinkedIn and you search for someone who would know a priori who you were looking for, and if you go to Netflix, or even 7 years ago, it sort of knew what you were going to watch, but it gave you the benefit of choice, right? AI isn't new, but it's finally getting to the point from a technology perspective where it can be embedded into every type of technology. And so for us, as we look at AI today, we're really seeing this as a massive platform shift. The last major platform shift was to cloud, and there were some smaller platform shifts obviously before that, but this is a major platform shift. And as we think about how that platform shift will evolve across the sectors that we look at, whether it's enterprise or consumer or fintech or healthcare, it will permeate into every single piece of the stack. And so the way that we're thinking about AI is really, one, breaking down what the stack will look like on a go-forward basis at the base primitives. And then those base primitives today are evolving into what people are calling foundation models. And then surrounding those base primitives, you've got to run them, you've got to access them, you've got to manage them, you've got to secure them. So there will be security paradigms around those foundational primitives. And then there are the applications, and those applications could be in healthcare, they could be in a software, or what people use, vertical software, SaaS. They could be in consumer technologies, and Lightspeed is very much aggressively looking at all pillars of the stack. What we did internally was, because of our sector focuses across enterprise and consumer and fintech and healthcare, we have expertise across each of those pieces, each of those areas. And we brought together a cross-functional team to look at and understand how AI will really permeate across each of these pieces of the stack. So for us, it's one of these things that's just a foundational technology. We're very excited about what it's going to do. It opens up a massive TAM, right? It increases addressable markets. And if you sort of look at the way that we've been investing in AI over the last year, we've put about $1 billion to work across 62 companies. And that is at all the layers. So if we take a step back, I talked about foundation layers, right? We're investors, seed investors in Mistral, we're investors in Anthropic, but we've also looked at other types of foundation models, whether it's a robotics foundation model in a company called Skilled, whether it's a video foundation model in a company like Pika, whether it's applying music foundational models to a consumer company like Suno. We've been very much thinking broadly across the stack. And then I mentioned a few enterprise companies, but there've obviously been a number of others, Glean being one of the ones that we're very, very excited about, or MoveWorks. These are touching every part of the enterprise knowledge worker, for example, and bringing co-pilots into the enterprise, or a bridge in the healthcare space, which is very much helping doctors and medical practitioners just ease the way that they work and do their work in their daily lives.
Say more about the opportunity for foundation models that are more specific in terms of what separates one that you think could be an independent company versus one that will get swallowed by some of the bigger players.
I think until now at the foundation layer, it's been a combination of access to data, access to compute, and access to capital. And that is why we're seeing sort of a concentration, at least in the LLM space, around companies like OpenAI, like Anthropic, and like Mistral. In other areas, it's a combination of architectural models, software technology that glues together those models, and then vertical integration that builds applications. And so it's not just about, from our perspective, not just about access to data and compute, but as we go forward, it's also understanding verticalized domain-specific use cases, workflows, and automations.
Talk about what Meta's recent moves mean for some of these independent players that you maybe focus with the ones you're focused on, like Anthropic or like Mistral, or more just the foundation model sort of space in general.
They're pushing the envelopes, and it's fantastic to see how they're pushing the envelopes and democratizing access to a foundation model. I think you'll continue to see additional innovation come out of Anthropic and Mistral. We can't talk about that yet, but I think you'll continue to see those two companies continue to innovate. And I think Meta is really pushing the industry forward, and they'll push Anthropic and Mistral to continue to innovate.
Hey, we'll continue our interview in a moment after a word from our sponsors. As a finance leader, you might be juggling a dozen point solutions just to get an accurate view of your company's spending. Expense management here, corporate cards there, bill pay hiding somewhere else entirely. What if you could consolidate them into one unified platform? That's where Rippling Spend comes in. Trusted by thousands of businesses, Rippling Spend is a comprehensive platform that consolidates all your expense needs, corporate cards, bill pay, and expense management into a single user-friendly solution. Backed by top investors and over $1 billion in funding, they're dedicated to providing exceptional value to their customers. You can say goodbye to the days of juggling multiple logins and scrambling to reconcile accounts. Rippling Spend streamlines that entire process, saving you valuable time and resources. Plus, Rippling Spend's corporate card offers built-in spend controls and automatic issuance. You can also set limits, like auto-approving team lunches under $50, while flagging anything higher for review. Every transaction is tracked and synced with your accounting system in real time. You also earn market-leading rewards on every purchase. Stop wasting time and money on old traditional credit cards and fragmented point solutions. Take control and simplify your company's spending with Rippling Spend. Visit rippling.com/turpentine today for a free demo and 1 month free. Visit rippling.com/turpentine today to start your free trial. Our sponsor for today's episode is Carta, the end-to-end accounting platform that's purpose-built to power the strategic impact of the fund CFO. For the first time ever, private fund operators can now leverage their very own bespoke software that's designed from the ground up to bring their whole portfolio together, enabling formations, transactions, and distributions to flow seamlessly and accurately. The end result? A remarkably fast and precise platform that empowers better strategic decision-making and delivers transformational insights on demand, timely K1s, holistic fund performance data, and so much more. Come see the new standard in private fund management at carta.com/investors. That's carta.com/investors.
I'm curious how you think about the other sort of potential investment types, whether it's the application side or other sort of infrastructure, the other levels of the stack, so to speak. How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's probably the most exciting time. It's a massive architectural shift. And we saw this last when companies started to move from on-premise software to the cloud. And what that meant was, at that point in time, spend on a global basis was probably about $1 to $2 trillion. And we're still probably 4 or 5 innings into that transformational shift. But what happened at that point in time when companies moved from on-premise to cloud was you saw not only the base compute network and storage primitives start to shift over to the hyperscalers today, but you saw new foundational security models pop up and security companies pop up. Today, you can call them CrowdStrike, Palo Alto Networks. There's a Zscaler, Netscope. These new companies were built for the cloud era. There was also a number of new platforms that popped up, whether it was Snowflake or Databricks or Nutanix that were compute and data-centric platforms. And then, of course, the wave of application software towards SaaS. As we step back and think about how companies are going to adopt AI, we think that not only is the entire stack, which is today about $4.5 trillion, so enterprise spend on a global basis, $4.5 trillion, is going to shift to AI-first workloads that have foundational models at the core of them. But now we're going to have to really reinvent all of the glue that will tie together how to run, how to monitor, how to do observability, how to make sure that these things are built reliably, how they're secured, right? There's an entire sandwich of infrastructure software and security software that needs to be built. On top of that, that will enable a new type of AI application. People are talking about work as a service, and that's going to expand the TAM, the available TAM, pretty significantly. And what I mean by that is in that shift from on-premise to cloud, you were basically shifting workloads and you were changing business models, right? The old way of doing things was you sort of bought enterprise software up front. You took a long time to get that enterprise software deployed, and software as a service came along, and then all of a sudden you could buy it on a monthly basis or a yearly basis. Today, it's not just about enabling users on a monthly basis with AI software. It is actually really replacing people and some of the work that we do. It's data centric today. It tends to be pulling in a lot of data that happens to be dispersed. It's doing some manual processes. It's massaging those manual processes, and it's outputting a work. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what we're seeing. But the reality is that will then expand the addressable market for AI software significantly, probably by 10x. And there could be anywhere between $15 and $20 trillion of market cap available, which is why people are so excited about the applications of AI into first enterprise software, and then how we actually do things like searching online, watching things online, creating online, distributing content online. All of that, a lot of the manual processes around that, a lot of the generation of things can actually be replaced and can actually be automated quickly. We've started to see this in a few companies. We're lucky to have investors in a company called EvenUp, for example, which is in the legal space. And they're not selling on a per user per month basis. What they're actually selling is almost a virtual paralegal. And the value proposition to a small law firm is now you could prosecute more business on a monthly basis. So you can actually increase your revenue pretty significantly while adding these virtual AI bots, AI agents that can actually do a lot of the work of what a paralegal can do. And they do it 24 hours a day. They do it much faster. The accuracy is getting much better, et cetera, et cetera. We're investors in a company called Navan, which is in the corporate travel space. And they've infused AI into their platform. And now it can actually help people that are traveling on a global basis and do it automagically. In many cases, they don't even know that they're talking to an AI agent, but when they're stuck somewhere trying to get home, an AI agent can actually figure out the next best ticket, the next best route, do all of the manual processes that it takes to actually re-ticket and rebook and actually issue a new ticket and make that person feel like they've been treated with empathy, with care, right? MoveWorks is building AI agents that help enterprise knowledge workers resolve their help desk and service desk issues. Instead of sitting on the phone for 45 minutes with a human being to get their password resolved, or trying to get access to enterprise software, or trying to do multi-step, multi-process queries and actions that could be anything from, hey, can you go find me the 3 people that I need to contact at customer X and draft me an email? The MoveWorks bot will do that for you in partnership. And this is just scratching the surface of the way the world is going to go.
I'm curious, there's this conversation about sort of the co-pilot world where the software will be tools to make people more efficient. And there's the other conversation around, no, actually it will just prevent the need to hire them in the first place or to have as many on staff. And that, of course, those are different worlds. And so I'm curious, what is the right litmus test when we're thinking about the future? If we're thinking about, hey, is this going to enable someone to do their job better and we'll have just as many of this industry or this type of job, or maybe even more? Or, hey, does this actually mean that that businesses can have less of those people and thus have less overhead and be much more efficient as a result?
I'd say it's a little bit of both, right? It'll allow people within companies to focus on much higher value tasks. There's just a lot of people, unfortunately, today that are doing manual repetitive tasks that are prone to error, that they can only do 8 hours a day and are very repetitive. AI can take over a lot of that data-centric stuff. It can generate outputs with much greater accuracy. And humans can actually come in and supervise that. It'll also, you talked about co-pilots, it'll almost give magical superpowers to humans in terms of stuff that would in many cases take 15, 20, 30 minutes to compose the right email with the right details or the right marketing post or the right even video content. That can take 30, 60, 90 minutes. With AI, it can be output in 2 to 3 minutes, and then it's a little bit of wordsmithing. That is superpowers that you're giving to people to be much more productive and to focus on things that are much more rewarding. Every time there's been a technical inflection, I think people have been afraid of jobs being lost and people not having anything to do, whether that goes back to the automation of building cars, for example, when Henry Ford came about, or even industrialization of farms. This is yet another architectural shift and technology shift for humankind that is going to allow people to focus on much higher value things.
Hey, we'll continue our interview in a moment after a word from our sponsors. Hey everyone, Erik here. In this environment, founders need to become profitable faster and do more with smaller teams, especially when it comes to engineering. That's why Sean Lenihan started Squad, a specialized global talent firm for top engineers that will seamlessly integrate with your org. Squad offers rigorously vetted top 1% talent that will actually work hard for you every day. Their engineers work in your time zone, follow your processes, and use your tools. Squad has front-end engineers excelling in TypeScript, React, and Next.js ready to onboard to your team today. For backend, Squad engineers are experts at Node.js, Python, Java, and a range of other languages and frameworks. While it may cost more than the freelancer on Upwork, billing you for 40 hours, but working only 2, Squad offers premium quality at a fraction of the typical cost, without the headache of assessing for skills and culture fit. Squad takes care of sourcing, legal compliance, and local HR for global talent. Increase your velocity without amping up burn. Visit choosesquad.com and mention Turpentine to skip the waitlist.
And what about the zooming out a little bit in terms of the boom bubble conversation? Are we sort of, is it 99? Is it like, what's the right way to think about where we are in the market on the timing side?
Yeah, I've got enough gray hair to actually have lived through 99. And, I first came to the Valley in the 90s. And so I remember that period. I also lived through the dot-com bust as well as the global financial crisis. I think that anytime that there's new technology, there is absolutely exuberance and there's a period of overinvestment. What is different today is if you sort of step back and think about the 90s, there were a lot of companies that didn't really have business models, did not necessarily have sustainable technology advantages. Today, it's different in that the technology has come a very long way. The business models are actually generating revenue, right? Some of these AI bots are just in a situation where they're actually delivering tangible value that people will pay for. And the markets here are massive, right? As I said, you're not just replacing technology with a business model shift or not just re-platforming technology from one side to another. You're really changing the way that companies can work. You're changing the way that people can work, and you're making us much more productive. Now, that's not to say that there'll be investment in some sectors and there'll be some level of over enthusiasm in some sectors. Ultimately, the very best companies will win, the very best founders that are focused on building the best technology, the best go-to-market engines that can very much differentiate themselves from others. Those ones will win. At the end of the day, you probably will have some money lost, but you'll also have, because of the size of the TAM and the expansion of TAM, as we've talked about, we will have some companies that will be built that are orders of magnitude bigger than the last generation of companies that are built. It's just inevitable, and that's why you see capital coming into this market, and that's why you see capital really getting behind some incredible founders. And if you sort of look back, when that last platform change that I talked about to cloud happened, you saw a number of lookalike companies pop up at the same time, right? At the same time, people were saying, hey, this is overinvested, this is too busy. But some major winners came out of those. And Lightspeed was very lucky to have partnered with some of those, right? But you will have competition, you will have money lost, but you will have a lot of money made in this cycle.
Yeah. And do you think there's something fundamentally different about this wave that we can't really pattern match to previous waves? Or do you think the trends are helpful to pattern match?
In venture, you almost have to be a historian. It very much helps to understand how things played out the last time, but also patterns are just that. Patterns sort of repeat, but they don't always repeat. And so you can't be rigid in saying because it happened this way, it will happen this way in the future. We have to not only be historians, but we have to be constant students. And so what's really interesting in this cycle is the pace of change and the pace of innovation and the rapid innovation and competition that's happened. It's incredible. It's exciting. And it keeps us on our toes.
Yeah. In terms of opportunities, do you have a request for startups that you're excited for people to go pursue, or things that you're looking to back, or just maybe a sort of a type of idea or type of company that you feel is underrated, or a trend that we're not paying sufficient attention to?
There's been a lot of ink spilled around how AI can actually change every part of our world. I'd encourage founders to not just look at the traditional stovepipes in software, enterprise software, and to think really beyond sort of CRM, human capital management, ERP, and supply chain, et cetera. I'd encourage them to look between the stovepipes and to really look at the manual processes that exist everywhere. And I think new types of companies will be built in enterprise software and in the enterprise. And then if we go outside that, right, I mean, we can see how AI can be used to benefit mankind, whether it's in drug discovery, whether it's really in longevity, for example, in healthcare, whether it's in the way that we play. I'm excited to see new content forms pop up and new mediums of content pop up. I'd say entrepreneurs should not let the past really limit what they can do with this new technology. Do I have a specific area that I'm looking for companies in? The answer is no, but we do have an open mind in terms of a number of themes that we're excited about in enterprise and consumer and healthcare and fintech. But ultimately, I think the entrepreneurs will pull us forward in terms of what the innovation is.
Talk a little bit about cybersecurity and where we're at there at the moment, or where it's going.
Yeah, cybersecurity, I'd say, is the gift that keeps on giving. Every 5 to 7 years, a brand new platform pops up. If you go back 25 years, the dominant companies were Checkpoint, Symantec, McAfee. If you sort of look at the new platforms that emerged and have really become multi-billion-dollar, almost $100 billion companies, the latest crop of CrowdStrike, Palo Alto Networks, Zscaler, Cloudflare. These are the new kids on the block that have really popped up as a result of the last platform shift that we've talked about from on-premise to cloud. There is no doubt in my mind that as we shift to the new platform of AI and the new architectural platform of AI, that a brand new crop of companies will pop up that will be worth 100 to call it $300 billion. And the reason for that is what's old is new and what's new is old. Cybersecurity cannot sit still, because the bad guys look at the tools and the foundation models and the new technologies that are coming out, and they're innovating. And as a result of that, the good guys are under constant attack, and they need new tools to protect them. And so as we think about bad guys using AI for malicious purposes, the good guys, the next generation of companies, are going to have to use AI to really protect not only perimeter, but all of the new tools that are going to be built. And so I'd say that as we think about where the opportunity is, it's two sides of a coin. A lot of people have talked about this, but it's security for AI, right? How do you think about securing the new applications and the new infrastructure that would be built? How do we think about vulnerability analysis, about observability, about the new network? What does network security look like in and around AI? What does pen testing look like from the outside around AI? How do you secure models? But then how do you think about agents talking to agents? What is the new paradigm for identity, for example? How do you think about agents interacting with legacy systems and ensuring that data is secure? So ensuring the data in an AI first world is privacy aware, is compliant, is regulatory compliant. There are going to be new tools and new platforms that need to be built on that. And then the flip side of that is AI for security. How do you ensure that our human beings that are trying to keep the tools up and running and that are trying to keep our infrastructure safe, our companies safe, how do we enhance that? How do we enhance them so that they can do their jobs better? Because they have a lot of manual tasks, but a lot of these manual tasks are sifting through a massive amount of alerts. It's sifting through a lot of logs. It's sifting through just a lot of data. And that's where AI today is extremely well suited, because there's a well-trodden path in terms of automations, and there's a huge amount of data to sift through. And the bad guys don't sleep. Humans do need to sleep. And so as I mentioned, AI for security, which can almost be a co-pilot for humans, is going to be important. But we're going to really see an evolution of cybersecurity over the next decade. And I wouldn't count them out, right? Palo Alto Networks is led by an incredible management team and an incredible set of innovators. Cloudflare, same thing. Zscaler, same thing. Netskope, same thing. But at the same time, anytime that there's a new platform shift, you can see a new set of innovators pop up and build a fresh company without any architectural burden and put a fresh set of eyes towards the problem. The other thing that I bring up is I think that we've spent a lot of time over the last several decades just building up products to protect against malicious actors. I think over time you'll see the evolution of not just a product-centric approach to cyber risk, but also an evolution of merging financial liability, operational liability, and product excellence into a total cyber risk platform. So we'll see an evolution of the industry in that direction. Some of the smartest companies in the world and biggest innovators are already thinking about this with their integrated approach to product and cyber insurance, and we'll see an evolution of the industry in that direction.
That's a great overview. Just to pause the podcast for a second, we usually go for 30 minutes to 40 minutes, so we're pretty good on time, but I do ask every guest, is there anything that we haven't gotten to that you think you'd want to make sure our audience hears?
I touched on this earlier when I talked about Lightspeed being a global platform, and I really want to push on that. When Lightspeed was getting off the ground, the common wisdom was you can only build a company in Silicon Valley, and that from day one has not been Lightspeed's belief. Lightspeed strongly believes that entrepreneurship is global, that companies can be founded anywhere, and that the next great company doesn't necessarily have to be in Silicon Valley, and a priori will not be, right? So if you sort of look at where we're investing on a global basis, we've got offices around the world, and we're very curious about what entrepreneurs who are sitting in their home offices are building, and would really encourage them to reach out to us, because for us, post-COVID even more, it's become easier to build a remote-first company. But as a firm, as a multi-stage, multi-sector firm, we're used to doing investing on a global basis.
That's a great notion to end on. Arif, thanks so much for sharing a bit about how Lightspeed operates and how you think about investing in AI and beyond.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Turpentine VC is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Moment of Zen and Econ 102. If you liked the episode, please leave a review in the Apple Store or rate us on Spotify. Hey everyone, Erik here. At Turpentine, we're building the first media outlet for tech people by tech people. We're the network behind the show you're listening to right now. We have a slate of hit shows across a range of topics and industries, from our AI and investing cluster of podcasts to shows that drive the conversation in tech with the most interesting thinkers, founders, investors, and influencers, like Econ 102 with Noah Smith. We're launching new shows every week, and we're looking for industry-leading sponsors. If you think that might be you and your company, email me at erikaturpentine.co. That's ERIK at turpentine.co, and let's partner together.